I be damned. I actually did it. Well, in the event that people aren't aware, seems that Department of Justice and Homeland Security has notified the U.S. District Judge for the District of Maryland, no less, that they intend to deport Abrego Garcia to a third-party nation once he is released from custody in Nashville. And a lot of the idiots on X have helped and aided in Garcia being slandered, defamed, libeled, smeared, attacked for what, 3 going on 4 months now? Bringing him back with Pam Bondi and her lying ass before news cameras talking about this is what it looks like to face justice in the United States. They never intended to give Abrego Garcia his day in court. And the reason they never intended to do it was because all it would do is expose the lies that they've been telling from the beginning. People, you need to stop thinking from your political viewpoints and start actually paying attention to what the hell you're saying and doing, and do your research and stop repeating shit that you hear somebody say because you have this David Koresh cult-like following attraction to these assholes. Abrego Garcia's original immigration enforcement in 2019 took place under the Trump's first administration. He wasn't here illegally. Trump's first administration released him and authorized his work permit in the fall of 2019 after they made the conscious decision not to follow the immigration court's findings, which said, yes, he can be removed, but for him to be removed, he would need to be removed to a different country other than El Salvador. You guys have been pushing this bullshit narrative saying that he has been proven to be an MS-13 member by 2 different judges. You don't understand the immigration court process. It's not the same as if you are charged with a crime. You don't get the discovery that you would if you were charged with a criminal offense in state or federal court. You don't get a whole lot of anything as far as what they claim to have on you or against you. There was no evidence presented that this man had ever been an MS-13 member. There was all kinds of evidence that he's never had a criminal history anywhere, ever. What they used in 2019 was, and I'm quoting now, past proven reliable source of information. In other words, a confidential informant giving the Prince George's County Police Department in Maryland a statement from a police informant saying that Mr. Garcia was associated with MS-13. After all of these false claims, since he was deported to the prison in El Salvador in March, kept blowing up in Bondi and Noem's and Trump's face and Miller's face, you guys started pushing this bullshit. Dan Shaw kept posting on X, oh, he had several $1,000s of cash on him when the police arrested him in the Home Depot parking lot, and the faces of the presidents had all these markings. And none of that was true. If you actually had read the freaking report that everybody was claiming said these things, you would have understood that the report was talking about a sweatshirt that was written in the report that Garcia was supposedly wearing, a Chicago Bulls hat and a hoodie with different images in it. But again, facts, truth, nothing seems to matter anymore other than your political views. Whatever fits your political view, whatever fits your political narrative. You guys helped defame, slander, libel, smear a man, his wife, his kids for months. You have a U.S. president pushing a photoshopped picture claiming that a man has MS-13 tattooed across the freaking knuckles of his hand. And you guys are too damn stupid to understand that if that had even been remotely correct or true, that would have been in his initial immigration records from 2019. It would have been recorded with the Prince George's County Police Department because they would have been photographed. The tattoos would have been documented. They would have been photographed on March 12th when they arrested him in Maryland and flew his ass to Texas to send him to El Salvador. But nothing. A U.S. president took a Photoshop picture provided to him from a corrupt dictator, President Bukele in El Salvador, who Donald Trump is giving your taxpayer money to, who is kissing ass with, who is releasing, by the way, some 9 MS-13 leaders that have been sitting in federal custody and arrested since Donald Trump's first administration in an investigation and a case that Donald Trump's first administration and Department of Justice had been putting together for years against Bukele and his corruption and the fact that he actually is associated with the very gangs that Trump claims that he is trying to rid the country of. That's right. Bukele's where he's at today because of his association and relationship with MS-13 and Barrio 18. But see, you guys don't care about the truth. You don't care about the. That's okay. But what's not okay is for the Attorney General, the Assistant Secretary of Homeland Security, Secretary of Homeland Security, the Border Czar, President of the United States, Deputy Chief of Staff for the President of the United States, ICE, Elon Musk, Fox News, the New York Post, and I could keep going on and on and on, but I'm not going to knowingly lie, get in front of TV cameras. Fox News had every reason in the world not to be broadcasting these people on that network calling Abrego Garcia a proven MS-13 gang member, a proven violent criminal with an extensive violent criminal history. They had every reason in the world not to do it because they knew it wasn't true, because they didn't even bother to ask for anything to back it up. They had no choice but to bring Abrego back. So they did it under the false pretense of getting a grand jury indictment in the Middle District of Tennessee, accusing him of stuff, actually accusing him of everything that they had been making false accusations saying that he was already proven of having done since the arrest and the deportation in March. Because that video clip from that traffic stop in 2022 surfaced. And you guys kept pushing it and saying it proves something. You guys kept pushing it, saying it was an official Tennessee State Highway Patrol video. No, actually, it's not. The official body cam video had long since been purged from the system. In fact, most law enforcement agencies, unless the video is associated with an ongoing investigation or a public records request, is purged within 30 to 90 days. The video clip actually was maintained by one of the officers on the stop. So, boom, Pam Bondi gets this crazy idea. I know what, I'm going to have DHS, Homeland Security Investigations, go and talk to the guys that we've already got in jail. You know, the ones that owned the car that he was driving at the time. Make some deals, get some statements, get testimony in front of grand jury, get an indictment, bring his ass back and charge him anyway. I would strongly encourage those of you who have not read it yet to read the full 51-page memorandum and opinion of U.S. Magistrate Judge Barbara Holmes. Because exactly what I had been telling you guys to stop doing and telling you guys exactly what the government was doing to this guy is exactly what they did. Yeah, they went and released the actual self-admitted leader of a human smuggling operation. They've already released him from prison early in exchange for his signed statements, testimony before a grand jury to help them get the indictment. Funny, if you read this memorandum and opinion, you'll notice that 3 of the cooperating witnesses in bringing this indictment, they're all 3 somehow related in one way or the other. Then you have a cooperating witness who is the basis for the government claiming that Mr. Garcia is an MS-13 member, who's a known regular confidential informant source for law enforcement, but even more importantly, a financially compensated confidential source for law enforcement. In other words, the bitch gets paid to tell the cops what they want her to tell them. Interestingly enough, the only reference that they had in 2019 in his immigration hearing pertaining to being an MS-13 member was a confidential informant statement. Nothing else. You can read it. The immigration judge's memorandum and opinion is very clear. She makes it clear the only reason she even considered it was because Garcia was never told what was said or even by whom. He was never even given the opportunity to have them produce the person who accused him of being a gang member. Because in immigration court, you don't have those rights. It's not a court system like you think it is. Nothing more than a freaking, you walk in, you listen, you answer the question, you tell them what you got to tell them, and they get your ass out. It's part of the Department of Justice. Pure and simple. But no, you guys pushed. You smeared this man. So Pam Bondi, DHS, after the video of the traffic stop, what, a week later, you're making deals with convicted criminals. You're letting them out of prison early. You're promising them that they won't be deported. They get to stay. Never mind all your bullshit hype about nobody is safe, no criminal gang member terrorist is safe or going to be allowed to stay. Unless, of course, they lie and give you what you want to save your ass. Kristi Noem needs to be fired immediately. So does Pam Bondi. So does Steve Miller. What you guys did to this guy is inexcusable. And I'm serious. It is absolutely inexcusable. What you guys didn't understand is you got so wrapped up in your political views that you said, fuck humanity. You said, fuck people's rights and being innocent until proven guilty. And you went out and you spread and repeated all of the lies, slander, the defamation, the libel against this man and his family, and you insisted it was true. You were ready to fight on X if you got called out for doing it. That's on you. See, everything about this administration, everything about these quote unquote criminal alien apprehensions that they keep saying is a mandate. Don't give a shit. You don't have the right to smear and lie about and then put them on a plane and send them to a prison somewhere so that you don't have to be held accountable for your lie. Abrego Garcia and his wife, they're going to be okay. And they're going to be paid. And they're going to be paid by the likes of Pam Bondi, by the likes of Kristi Noem, by the likes of Marco Rubio, by the likes of Stephen Miller, by the likes of Fox News, by the likes of Donald Trump, who thinks that somehow, as long as he's in office, all he has to do is say, oh, well, it was part of my official duties as president. So I'm immune from just maliciously lying and libeling and defaming people. Apparently you're not. Because it hasn't really worked that well for you with the E. Jean Carroll verdict against your ass, has it? Yeah, exactly. See, what Bondi and Noem and Trump and Miller thought was they were going to bring Mr. Garcia back. They were going to charge him. They were going to smear him yet even more. Then they were going to repeat all of these lies that they've been telling for the last 3.5 months in an indictment and try to keep everything sealed and think, oh, he'll sit in jail waiting for trial. They didn't expect the fact that judges who do their job and uphold the law and apply the law the way they're supposed would actually say, guess what? He's entitled to bail. This administration has gotten to the point to where it believes it can just do anything it wants. No matter what it wants. But you can't. And when it was clear that Abrego Garcia was going to be released pending trial, when you couldn't get a stay, you make up this excuse, well, we need to keep him in jail because if we don't keep him in jail, then we can't bring him to trial because there's a good chance that ICE is going to take him and deport him. You know, Judge Crenshaw was absolutely right in his opinion yesterday. How the hell are you going to tell a court that you can't bring this man to trial if he makes bond because another agency in the same freaking government as the Department of Justice, no less, is going to take him and deport him right away rather than just leave him alone, let the court release him, which he's entitled to. Proceed with the case. Bring it to trial so that you can really get embarrassed, so that you can really get shown and exposed for the lying pieces of shit and frauds that you are. And to think that there's so many ignorant people still pushing this garbage. Those of you who are pushing the internet claiming that Mr. Garcia was smuggling human beings and kids, do your research and read the court document. Pam Bondi is so damn stupid. One of the people that she let out of jail early to get a false statement from against Garcia came back and made an additional statement claiming that they knew that Garcia almost always took his minor children with him, making 4 and 5 trips a week, which of course, when the judge calculated the mileage and the time and etc., realized that that was a crock of shit. But Pam Bondi and the Department of Justice actually tried to charge Mr. Garcia with human smuggling involving a minor as a crime victim. And the minors that they were alleging to be victims of crimes that Mr. Garcia had not committed, by the way, were Mr. Garcia's children based on this bullshit information statement that they got from the guy that got out of jail before he got out of jail before they even had his bond hearing. That's on them. Garcia has not had a single criminal arrest, charge, suspicion anywhere before this administration attacked him. Before Pam Bondi, Trish McLaughlin, Stephen Miller, Kristi Noem, Marco Rubio, and Donald Trump went on this nonstop smearing campaign. Got Fox News and all these conservative media outlets and all these lunatic trumpets pushing one lie after another after another. So, there was a request filed with the U.S. District Court judge in Maryland that she issue an order that upon Mr. Garcia's release from custody in Nashville, that he be returned to Maryland and that he not be removed from Maryland other than him traveling to Tennessee for court until such time as order of the court for his trial was over. There was a fairly quickly put together phone conference on that request today, and the Department of Justice notified Judge Paula in Maryland that it is in fact the intention of the Trump administration to remove Mr. Garcia to a country other than El Salvador once he is released in Tennessee on bond. Now, I want you to pay attention to this because, like Judge Crenshaw said, when the U.S. attorney asked him to keep Garcia in jail because by not keeping him in jail, there was a chance that they wouldn't be able to bring him to trial because ICE was going to deport him. And Crenshaw said, you know, just the whole scenario that they put there was so stupid. It was so ignorant. You're the Department of Justice, and you can't make arrangements with the Department of Homeland Security, which brought the charges against him. Justice is prosecuting them, but you can't make arrangements that he's being released on bond because he's legally entitled to bond. But yet you don't have the relationship or the authority or the connection to work with Homeland Security and ICE to ensure that they do not move forward with any removal proceedings until such time as the trial is done. See, they weren't going to take him to trial anyway unless they could keep him in jail. Because you've heard them. They've been all over TV. He would never step free in this country ever again. That's Stephen Miller. That's Pam Bondi. That's Donald Trump. That's Tricia McLaughlin. That's Marco Rubio. Never mind, the man is innocent. The indictment was just to get a record on it. They can't prove it, never would have been able to prove it. Read the 51-page opinion from the June 13th bond hearing. Look at how stupid, how ignorant, and how dangerous this government has become. But the one good thing is this. Abrego Garcia and his wife are going to be able to live a life of luxury for the rest of their lives and have anything and everything that their kids could ever want or need because they're about to get paid by the United States government, by Pam Bondi, by Marco Rubio, by Stephen Miller, by Kristi Noem, by Donald Trump, because none of them, you don't understand, your positions don't give you immunity from what you have done. And you didn't even do this in the actual lawful performance of your duty. Just the malicious process, the making deals for false statements that you knew were false to be made before a grand jury because you targeted somebody who you couldn't back up your claims against to try to cover your ass. Do you not understand? Oh, they're going to be paid. And Fox News, I guess Dominion didn't hurt you enough. But with what you did to Mr. Garcia and his family, there ain't no way in hell you're ever going to get out of that one. This was never about Abrego Garcia having his day in court. because they couldn't afford him to do it. Because for him to have his day in court exposes the blatant violations of law, the criminal activities of a U.S. president and his executive branch, no less, in a racist attempt to ensure innocent individuals are falsely imprisoned, tortured, and abused for no reason whatsoever other than you think you can. A bunch of gutless, ignorant, lying,